Hello and welcome to Relatively Crafty, a knitting podcast. This is episode 27, I believe. I'm your host, Cristi. You can find me on Ravelry as Cristi-Lael and on Instagram as Cristi-Lael without the dash. We also have a Relatively Crafty podcast group on Ravelry where we talk about knitting and the projects we've made, and we have a chatter thread where you can talk about whatever. And we are having a knit along going on right now. It is the summer sweater knit along that I am hosting with Sarah of the Canadian Knitter Podcast. And you're just supposed to knit a summer torso covering garment. It can be pretty much anything as long as you can justify it for being meant to be worn during warmer weather. And that knit along is going on from May 1st to June 15th. So you have, about a week and a half left? Almost a week and a half left with which to finish up your sweater. And I have an FO thread in my group. Sarah also has an FO thread in her group, and you are encouraged to post your FOs in both groups because we each are having different prizes. So if you post it in both groups, you have an extra chance to win a prize. The prizes that I am awarding in my group are this amazing project bag by Erin of Bling Your String. She so generously donated this, and I am so grateful that she did. So it's kind of a large size project bag. It would be good for a large shawl or even a sweater. I could probably fit a sweater project in here. And it also comes with some coordinating stitch markers that she makes. So there's that. And then the second prize is one that I picked up from the Yarn Cafe Creation Shop on Etsy. She's an amazing indie dyer, and I really like her colorways and her prices especially. I picked up this skein as a prize. This is in her fluffy base, and the colorway is Ocean Mist. It is one of her more famous colorways. And I don't know if you've seen this knit up, but it is beautiful. In fact, I liked it so much that I bought a skein for myself that I'm going to be using for my So Faded sweater when I get started on that one. So those are the two prizes that we have, and as I said last week, I've kind of solidified my plan to have one prize for the FO thread and one prize for the chatter thread. And Aptly Juice asked in the chatter thread yesterday if I would be willing to keep open the thread even after the KAL ends next week, and I am totally fine with that. I would love to do that. Obviously the FO thread will be closed, and or you know what, I won't even close the FO thread. I'll leave it all open, but I will award the giveaway, the prizes, I will do the RNG on the 15th, or probably on the 16th. And so anybody who puts in anything after that date, after midnight on the 15th, won't be eligible for any of the prizes. But yeah, I'll keep it open, and let's keep talking about it, talking about our projects and showing off our sweaters when we finish them. I'm not even sure if I'm going to get mine finished in time, so I look forward to being able to post it in there as well. And then I want to announce another knit along that I've decided to go ahead and start. If you've watched any of my episodes, you know that I am very much a sock knitter. I love knitting socks. They're my favorite thing to knit. I knit them all the time. I constantly have at least one, more like 2 or 3 socks going at any one time, and I finish several each month. And so I've decided that I should have a sock knit along. I mean, that should just be a perpetual thing in my group, but I'm going to go ahead and just have one for kind of the summer. So I'm going to start it on the 15th and have it go until the end of August. And I will get some prizes for that one as well, and you're just encouraged to knit any sock you want. I mean, it needs to be adult socks. and you need to knit 2 in order to qualify. However, I will say they don't have to be 2 matching socks. If you have 2 single socks that you've knit at separate times and you just want to finish up the pair, you suffer from second sock syndrome, and you just really want to get these finished, then those 2 second socks, that qualifies. As long as it's 2 socks, and I don't care if they are shorty socks or if they are long socks or if they are knee socks. It's just about the socks here. And even, you know what, I will even allow kid socks as long as there are 4. 4 kid socks qualifies. Yeah, I think 4 kid socks qualifies as an adult pair. So 2 pairs of kid socks equals 1 pair of adult socks. Let's do that. And so I will open up a thread for that here pretty soon, and yeah, just make socks. Just enjoy socks. I just want to enjoy socks. So there you go. As I said, that will be going from June 15th until the end of August. We'll just do a whole, the rest of the summer type of a thing. And oh wait, summer starts on June 21st, doesn't it? And it goes until September 21st. Why don't we do that? We'll do that instead. So it will go from June 21st until September 21st, and we will get, or September 20th, and we will get the entirety of summer all about knitting socks. How about that? Sorry, I kind of just came up with this 30 seconds before I started recording, so I obviously didn't work out any of the fine details. Anyway, so let's go ahead and get into the knitting. I have like 3 finished pairs of socks to show you. Not too bad, huh? We're not going to point out that these were mostly done last week and I just kind of had to finish them up. First I have is the pair of rollers on Socks That Rock Lightweight in the ST-1 colorway. The heels and toes are done with a Lil Low in the Sriracha colorway, which I thought complemented very well. And yeah, there's not a lot that I can say about these except for I followed the pattern, and except for that I put in a Fish Lips Kiss heel instead of the heel flap and gusset that the pattern normally calls for. And I did them top down, and I enjoyed them. I do think that I am going to take a break from knitting rollers for a while. I have 6 or 7 pairs done now, and I want to do a little bit more. I still want to do a lot of shorty socks, but I kind of want some with a proper cuff for a little while. I am a mood knitter, so I knit rollers until I didn't want to knit rollers anymore, and now I've kind of moved on to something else. So I still want a decent amount of shorty socks for the summer. I have commercial socks, ankle socks and whatnot that I do wear when I go for my walks and those kinds of things, but I really like the idea of only wearing hand knit socks, and honestly, if I gotta wear shoes, I might as well wear hand knit socks. I will admit that during the true summer of summer, I end up going barefoot and wearing flip-flops most of the time, but I do have to wear shoes, to church and whatnot, and so I might as well have some short socks to wear then. And wool socks in shoes doesn't really add too much heat to my feet. I think the main difference between summer and winter with regards to hand knit socks is that in the winter, I get home and I take my shoes off and I leave my socks on and I wear them throughout the day and then into the night. In the winter, or in the summer rather, I get home and I take my shoes and my socks off. So I get more wear in them in the winter and then less, obviously, in the summer, but I still need to wear them. So there you go. So anyway, these are done and they're fine. They're not my favorite pair, but they will do. Next, I have this pair, and this, if you recall from last week, they really only needed their heels. However, I was kind of dragging my heels in knitting these heels. This is the pair of socks that I knit for my box of socks, which is a year-long sock knitting KAL that is run by Kristen of Woolen Vine Yarns, who does the Yarngasm podcast. The idea is that you knit a pair of socks each month and you put them in a box and you save them for the end of the year. And I am going through all of the stripy colorways that I've had in my stash for a long time, several years, and trying to knit those up and using those as my box of socks. And so this is a colorway that I've had for at least 2 or 3 years. It is Manic Pixie Dream Yarn in the Cloudy with a Chance of Rainbows colorway. I absolutely love it. It's such a great colorway, and I'm actually a little saddened that I waited so long to knit it up. I could have been enjoying these socks for the past couple of years. If you recall, I was knitting these when we went to the movies, when we went to go see Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, and in knitting them at the movie theater, I had passed the point of the heel. Normally when I do my stripy sock pattern, which is a free pattern on Ravelry, I knit them toe up and then put in a piece of waste yarn for where the heel goes, and then knit up and then bind off with a Jenny's surprisingly stretchy bind off. And then I go in afterwards and take out the waste yarn and knit the afterthought heel that way. So it's not a true afterthought heel, it's what I like to call a forethought heel, because I give some forethought to where I want to place the heel. The purpose of a true afterthought heel is that you don't have to think about where you're going to put the heel until way after. And that technique is great for people who just want to knit socks, but they're not sure who they want the socks to go to. If you are, you want to knit socks for gifts or something like that, and you're not sure what size foot the person has, or you're not sure who you want to give the socks to, then you can at least get started and knit most of the sock and then find out who you want it to go to later on. And I have done a true afterthought heel in the past. I did a pair. It was kind of a mini set from Snitches, and there were 4 mini skeins that each had 25 grams, and so I decided to knit them into 4 mismatched socks. And I'll post a picture here. And so I went ahead, and because I wanted to use up all of the yarn, because it was only 25 grams, I knit all the way through and then bound off at the end, and then got some other minis in contrasting colors to put in for the heels, and I did true afterthought heels that way. The technique that I used then was to just go and cut where you thought the middle of the half of the sock was, and I found it to be fiddly and annoying, and I didn't see a point in doing it that way when I could just as easily put in some waste yarn and then know exactly how many stitches and exactly where the middle of the row was, and I had less ends to weave in, and so I kind of just wrote off that technique. I didn't enjoy it, and I did enjoy doing it in the kind of forethought technique that I use normally. However, as I said, I inadvertently knit too much, and so I had no choice but to do a true afterthought heel on one sock. And because I didn't enjoy it so much with those 4 socks that I'd made before, when I knit the second sock, I made sure that I put in the waste yarn. And then the reason why I was dragging my heels so much was because I just didn't want to have to do this. But I had to get them in before the end of the month, and so on May 30th, or 31st, I think even, I finally sat down and said, okay, let's do this. Well, I had heard a lot of people talk about Kirby Werby's video tutorial on how to do this, and what she does instead of just going in and cutting is she puts in stitch markers at the beginning and the end of the row, so you know the first and the last stitch, which helped a lot. And then instead of going into the middle and cutting and then unraveling and putting those on needles. She puts them on needles before, so she threads her one needle above the stitch marker and then threads the second needle below the stitch marker, so those stitches are already on needles. And then she goes and she cuts and takes them out. And you know what? Not only did I find that technique to be not annoying, but I actually really enjoyed it. And I feel kind of silly about it because I do this to myself every once in a while. I decide, oh no, I know exactly the best way to do this and I don't need to try out anything else because, it's obviously not going to work. And then something happens where I actually have to try it. And I'm like, oh, actually, that's pretty all right. I like that a lot. Same thing happened with the Fish Lips Kiss heel. I decided I was only ever going to do afterthought heels, or forethought heels, if you will. And I didn't need to know how to do any other heel because they weren't going to be as nice. And then I finally decided to learn the Fish Lips Kiss heel. I love the Fish Lips Kiss heel. I use it all the time. So anyway, I've decided that I want to go ahead and try this technique a couple more times to see how I like it. If I like it a lot, if I like it as much after doing it a couple more times. It may just have been that it was novel and that it won't work for me later on. We'll see. I will say that one downfall is that you do have 2 extra ends to weave in. You have the ends from what you unraveled to weave in, which, if you really, really, really hate weaving in ends, then that's going to be an issue. And it's not something that I struggle with the forethought heels that I do because I only have one end. 2 ends to weave in for the heel, the beginning of the heel and the end of the heel, whereas with a true afterthought heel you have 4 ends to weave in. But other than that, yeah, I love the way these socks came out. I just think they're great. And now they will go into my box. And then the last pair that I have to show you, it's actually a cheat because I didn't knit both of these socks. Well, that's not true. I knit both of these socks, but I didn't knit both of these socks in June. Back in 2013, I knit a pair. I knit this and its brother. And I had used, this is Goth socks, which was one of the first self-striping indie dyers out there. They ruled the industry for a while. Unfortunately, the company is now defunct. But this is Goth socks in Urban Decay, and I knit a pair of socks, a pair of shorty socks. And I loved them. You know me, I love orange and yellow. I love things mixed with gray. And so this was a great experience. And I wore them once, but because they were shorty socks, I was wearing them in the warmer months. And as I said earlier, when the warmer months happen, I wear my socks only until I take my shoes off, and then I take my socks off. So they were in the living room with me, and I went to go to bed, and so I took them with me to go put into the laundry. And on the way there, I stopped off and used the restroom. And I had the socks and my phone on the counter. Finished using the restroom and grabbed the socks and the phone and went to walk out the door. And as I passed the toilet, one of the socks fell in, and I just watched it go down the drain because I had just flushed. And I'm sorry if that was way too much information, but that's what happened. I flushed my brand new sock down the toilet. I'd only worn them one time. I was heartbroken. We did try to retrieve it. We couldn't. It was, I wouldn't have worn it after that anyway, but I wanted to make sure that it didn't clog the drains all the way. We lived in an old house. So anyway, I then went to my favorite group on Ravelry, which is the Chittery Chattery Swappery Swappers group. It's kind of like my home on Ravelry. And I lamented about what had just happened to my sock. And one of my friends said, I have a skein of that same colorway that's very similar. You know how it goes with indie dyers. No two skeins look exactly the same, and so some of the Urban Decay was a lot darker, and this one was more pale, obviously. And so she said, I'll be happy to send you some. How much do you need to replace your sock? And I weighed this sock, and it was 25 grams, so she sent me 25 grams. And I had it in my stash for a long, long time, for 4 years, actually, because I just finally knitted the second sock. I decided it was time. It was time to stop wasting time and go ahead and knit it. And you can see they're not exactly matching. They're definitely fraternal sisters instead of identical twins. And you can see that I actually ran out of yarn. I didn't have quite enough. I don't know if my gauge was different or what. I ended up actually making the cuff a little bit shorter as well because I was just running out of yarn. So I don't know what I did differently between the two socks, except for that it had been 4 years. And your gauge changes after that long. So I used some of the leftover of that hand-dyed by Kate hatchling sock set that I had gotten to finish off the heel. And so now I finally have a matching set again, and I will never, ever take these socks into the bathroom with me. I don't want to take any more chances. Oh, and for those of you who are curious, I just used my stripy sock pattern, or sock recipe with this. Started off with a Turkish cast-on, knit all the way up. I think I put in waste yarn, and then I knit, I don't know, it's like 2 inches. I probably would have made it maybe a little bit longer had I not been running out of yarn. And then I did 8 rows of rib, and then bound off with Jenny's surprisingly stretchy bind off. And they're not ankle socks like Rose City Rollers where they kind of fall underneath your ankle bone or right after your ankle bone. These are kind of like tennis sock length. So they're a little bit longer, obviously, but they're still shorty socks, and they still work well for wearing with shorts. And that is the last of my FOs, but I do have a hoe. Look at how bright it is. This you guys have seen in the past 2 weeks. This is Dragon Horde Yarns, which is dyed by Tristan, who is one half of the Girls in the Yarn Cafe podcast with her mom, Cristi, who dyes Yarn Cafe Creations. And this is her Dragon Scales base, maybe? It's the same as Cristi's Fluffy Sock base. It's a 75-25 merino blend, and the colorway is My Island, which is a Moana reference, and it's gorgeous. It's such a bright orange, and I love the little flashes of color mixed throughout, and I'm so happy with these socks. Be prepared to see a lot of my brighter colorways coming out over the summer, because I'm very much into knitting bright things right now. So I have the first sock finished, and that kind of takes me into my whips, because I have started the second sock. Obviously I haven't gotten much past the toe, and the reason for that is because I've been trying to work on my sweater in order to finish it before the end of the KAL, which is kind of snuck up on me. And also because I'm working on another sock. I went to my yarn shop last week and picked up 2 extra sock needles. I like the Chow red lace in a 40-inch circ US 1. And I have 2. And I've never had a problem with that. Have 2 socks going, that's plenty. However, I ran into last month where I wanted to knit a sock, but I didn't want to knit on either of the socks that I had on the needles. So I decided to pick up 2 extra sock needles, so now I have 4. And I know that some people like the yarn hoarder, Amber, who has like 25 socks going at any one time, would think it would be silly that I would hem and haw over just the idea of having 4 socks. But you have to remember that up until fairly recently, I was a monogamous knitter where I only had one non-sock project and one sock project going at any one time, and I kind of had anxiety if I had more than that. But podcasts and my own podcast and then watching other people's podcasts have kind of broken that monogamous need in me, and now I want to knit, want to cast on lots of things at all times. And so even though I had that sock going and was finishing up my Urban Decay sock, I decided to cast on a stripy sock. This is Knitterly Things Vesper sock in the summer evening colorway. I knew it was something to do with one of those warmer weather seasons. And it's gorgeous. It's 2-toned purple stripes with a blue and then a green stripe. The 2-tone purple are perfect for the colors of flowers that you get in the spring and summer, and then the blue skies and the green grass, and I just love it. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous colorway. And I've decided to pick this because, as I mentioned last week, or the week before, I have several skeins of her yarn now, at least 10 to 12, and I'm not knitting them very often, and so I want to get through and start working on some of hers. And this is one that I've had in my stash for a long time, and I was only knitting stripy socks for my Desert Vista Dye Works or for my box of socks, and so all of my other stripy sock yarns were kind of languishing as well. So that's all to say that I decided to pick this skein to knit, even though it wasn't on my TBR, or my TBK, I guess, to be knit, that I showed you guys last week. And I'm going to go ahead and do the True Afterthought heel technique again on these to see if I like it as much as I think I do. And I'm just about the point where the heel would go. So I think I've got like 7 inches, and I need to knit another ½ inch or so before I would put in the waste yarn normally. But as I said, I'm not putting in the waste yarn on these, so we'll see how it goes. But I love this colorway. Julia at Knitterly Things is such a talented stripy dyer. I just absolutely love her work. And then the only other thing that I have going right now is my sweater. If you are new to the podcast, then what I'm working on for my summer sweater KAL is Backshore by Alicia Plummer. And I had tried really hard to get the body finished by last week, but I was short by just the bottom cuff. And I have finished that. It is rolling a little bit, but that'll come out in blocking. So here is the entire body, all finished. And then you can see that I have started on the first sleeve, and I have done the collar. I forgot to mention that. I have done the collar. It's meant to be a rolling collar, so it's doing exactly what it's supposed to do. And then I need to finish the first sleeve, of course, knit the second sleeve, and then do the little V thing here and block it, and I'll be done. I went ahead and I wove in all the ends. So you see there's no ends for the body. And I do that because I don't want to be overwhelmed by ends at the end. So I've woven in all the ends for the body, and there are many because every time there's a new stripe started, there's 2 ends. And then I will finish the sleeve and weave in the ends for that, and then finish the sleeve and weave in the ends for that, and feel like I've broken it down into bite-sized chunks, if you will. So yeah, I'm really hoping to get this done. The sleeves are only 3/4 length, so they're only like 12 inches. And I've already knit at least 3 inches. So they shouldn't take too long. And I did this was just done today. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. But I am hoping to get this done before the end of the KAL, because I really need to get started on my mom's sweater. They are going to be here in a month. well, a little bit less than a month now. And that does bring up a good point. I will be missing a week in June. I'm sorry, in July. I may even be missing 2 weeks. It depends on exactly how long they're going to be here. But this room that I podcast in is my guest room. And so when people are sleeping here, I can't come in here to record. So as long as my parents are here, I won't be able to podcast. But I will give you guys more information about that later on. And actually, I should get lots and lots of knitting done while they're here because because my duties are kind of cut in half. It's my mom, and so whenever we visit with each other, we split the house duties. So my cooking will be done in half, will be cut in half. My child rearing duties will be cut in half. In fact, probably even more than half, because my folks really miss my kids, and so they will just take over taking care of the kids while they're here, which is fine with me. I'm really okay with that. So yeah, that's all that I have on the needle, so I guess we'll go ahead and get into my yarn haul. I have a couple things to show you. If you follow me on Instagram, then you've seen part of my haul. I got a package last week, actually, last Tuesday, that I didn't show you guys last week's podcast from Desert Vista Dye Works. I had gotten my 30% off for knitting 3 pairs of socks for the first quarter of the year, and so I went ahead and used it and purchased 3 new skeins. So I actually have enough yarn now to get through June, July, August, and September. So I will wait until the next coupon that they give, which should be at the end of this month, I believe, and then I'll order for the rest of the year. And yeah, and then I won't have to feel pressured to get enough DVD yarn to do the knit along. I still want to get more of it, of course, but I've felt a little bit of pressure each month to make sure that I get it in time and knit it in time and yada yada yada. So if I can take away the buying pressure, that'll help. So I had posted on Instagram a poll asking you guys what you thought I should knit for my June Desert Vista Dye Works socks. If you're not familiar, Desert Vista Dye Works does a yearly monthly sock club knit along, where you knit a pair of socks out of their sock yarn, and it can be their stripy or their variegated. It can even be scrappy socks, as long as it's 100% out of DVD yarn. And then they have awards for doing it each month, and at the end of 6 months, if you've done all 6 pairs of socks within the allotted time, meaning you had to start it and finish it within the month, then you get a free skein of DVD yarn. And then at the end of 12 months, you get another free skein of DVD yarn in an exclusive colorway. So I'm really keen on this whole idea. I just like the idea of it, and so I've done 5 pairs of socks now, and I need to do another 7 more. So here are the skeins that I had shown on Instagram. One was Frederick, which is a colorway that I showed a couple of weeks ago, and I still really, really love it. The orange and gray, man, just makes me happy. And then I had Emeralds, Sapphire, and Prince, which is purple, blue, and green. This one is the DVD logo. That's the name of the colorway, and you can see that it has all the colors of the DVD logo. And then lastly, it's Frosted Peeps, which is pink and yellow, bright, and then a speckled stripe that has blue and pink and green in there, kind of springy. And so I had asked by, vote, which one you all thought that I should knit for June, and there were a couple of votes for some of the other ones, but resoundingly this one won. So this will be the socks that I knit for June, the Frosted Peeps colorway, and I'm kind of excited about that. I think I might make these for socks for my mom. She is a big fan of these kind of colors, and I feel kind of bad because the socks that I made her for Easter, or for Mother's Day, the Hippo for Easter colorway, was a little bit muted. And she's like me, she likes things to be brighter. So I think I'm going to try to get these done and give to her when she comes next month. And then speaking of the Hippo colorways by Lolo Did It, I picked up a skein of Hippo for Dad, which is of course the gray base and looks like some chartreusey green, some brown, and some like royal blue, sapphire blue in there. And I'm going to knit this up if not this month, definitely next month, into a sock head hat for my brother. I keep going back and forth because if I knit it this month, then I can give it to him when he comes to visit. He's coming with my parents in July, but if I wait, I can give it to him for a Christmas gift. So we'll see how it goes. I'm not very good about holding on to presents when I'm in the presence of the person that I want to give them to. So if I knit it after they leave, then I won't have, it'll be fine because I won't see him for, until December. But if I knit it before he gets here, then I'm going to want to give it to him. Even though he wouldn't wear it until it got colder because he lives in Southern California and it's 95 degrees there right now. Well, it's right in the 90s lately. So next I have my my May skein for the Knitterly Things Rainbow of the Month Sock Club. So if you are in the Rainbow of the Month and you haven't gotten your skein yet and you don't want to be spoiled, then I would look away right now. Although I normally am pretty late to get these, so everybody should probably have theirs by now. But here it is, and true to Julia's reputation, it's gorgeous, and I can't wait to knit it. I'm very, very excited about it. I won't talk about it because just in case there's people who are listening who don't want to be spoiled, but it's beautiful. It's truly, truly beautiful. Okay, you can look now. And then lastly, I made an order from Carrie at The Creative Obsession. I love her podcast. I love her as a person. I love her dyeing. I love her quilting. She's so very talented and such a fun person. And I'm just really sad that I don't live closer so that I could be her friend in real life. But I do purchase her yarn whenever I can. And she had this colorway, which was awesome. And you can see why I grabbed it. And it's called Wake Me Up Before You Go Go, which is a Wham song that I love. And when Carrie sent me the yarn, she said, you have to make sure that you sing the song when you knit up the socks. And you know that I am. You know that every time I see this, I go, jitterbug, jitterbug. I love this song. I love Wham. I love the 80s. I miss the 80s. Anyway. So yes, so this is gorgeous. It's a bright, we got some highlighter yellow, some purple, some neon pink, a little bit of orange where the colors have mixed together. I can't wait to knit these socks. And Carrie was so awesome that she also included some extra little goodies. There is a little sheepy progress keeper. I don't know if you can see that. Little sheepy progress keeper that I absolutely love. And she included a skein to be used as a future giveaway. Carrie, thank you so much. I was so touched to see that. And the skein is gorgeous, guys. And I'm going to use it as one of the giveaways for the summer sock KAL. So this is her Ariel colorway, and it's beautiful in true Carrie fashion. She's so great with colors. So you got your orange, you got some aqua, you got a beautiful pink and purple, and they all mix together, and it's beautiful. And I think these are new labels, aren't they, Carrie? They're gorgeous. They're beautiful. I really, really like it. And then lastly, I got the most precious surprise in the mail this week, and it really touched my heart. And I I won't give you a lot of details about it. She wrote me a very touching note that I don't know that she wants everybody to know about, but I do want to talk about it, and I want to encourage you to check out her shop because her product is amazing. But I got a package from AOR Journals, who is Anne. If you recognize the name, she's a member of the group, and she won the giveaway for my aunt's the project bag that my aunt made. And she sent me this package, and it's one of her journals. She has an Etsy shop where she makes all kinds of journals, but she has just, I think fairly recently, gotten into doing knitting journals as well. And so she sent me one, and not only am I touched by the generosity, but I am thoroughly impressed with the quality of this product. Her shop is a travelersstory.etsy.com. I will, of course, link that down below. And now I'll show you what she sent. First is this really groovy looking journal, and it's graph paper for making your own patterns, which is very clever. I actually need this because every time that I try to design something or transcribe a pattern, I don't ever have the graph paper, and the little scribbles that I make on regular paper just don't make it. And then she also sent this very cute owl stitch marker. I love owls. I don't know if you knew that when you sent this to me, but I love owls. And so it's a progress keeper, and I can't wait to get using it. But then she also sent this. Look at this, guys. Is this not gorgeous? It's hardbound. So it's nice and sturdy and kind of heavy, and it's got this beautiful print on the outside, old postage markings and letters, and then it says "My Knitting" here, and it's bound with these beautiful ribbons. And when you undo it and open it up, got a place to put your name and whatnot, and then it's got these journals inside, and they're knitting journals. You may have seen these on Amber of the Yarn Hoarder podcast. She was talking about these a couple episodes ago. They're amazing. So there's a My Knitting journal, which you can just put the type of project and every bit of information. The name of pattern, the designer, the yarn, the fiber content, the dye lot, the weight, the wraps per inch, yardage, number of skeins, gauge, needle size, needle type, notes, washing instructions, your date started, whether it was a gift, for what occasion, and when you completed it, a finished project photo, the yarn label, and a small swatch or the yarn sample, which is great if you like to go back and revisit these things. If you've knit with a yarn that you want to knit with again, then you have the information that you used. It's great, and it's everything is so digital nowadays. I love the idea of analog keepsakes again, analog information. I really love that. Maybe I'm showing my age. And then on the back, it's got some standards. So fingering is 14 wraps per inch, and the Lion brand or the big box standard would be a number 1 superfine. And then your needle inventory. And then the second one is the complex knitting row counter, and that's basically what it is. You put your project, you keep track of the rows that you've knit, and that's fairly cool. As you know, I am a hash marker, so this is actually perfect because then I can make my little hash marks. And there's plenty of pages in here for you to do several dozens of projects. Next, there is a knitting pattern favorites. I love this picture. I love it. She's driving. I didn't look at it closely enough before. So she's driving, and she's knitting, and she must be stopped at a light. The guy behind her is yelling. He's like, "Hurry up!" And the cop is like, "Miss, you can't do that while you're driving." I love it. So this one is kind of like the first one in that you got your pattern and your yarn, a pattern image, and your notes, stitch abbreviations, directions. So this would be good for if you are designing, or if you're like knitting things off the cuff, as it were, and you want to keep track of what you've done for future, so that you can go back and say, you know what, I knit that hat 5 years ago and I really liked it, but I don't remember what I did. I just kind of knit it out of my head, and now you have the information. Assuming, of course, you write it down. And then lastly is a yarn stash journal. And it's pretty self-explanatory. You have the category, the maker and the name of the yarn, what weight it is, how many yards it is, how many skeins you have, what color it is, the dye lot, fiber content, washing gauge, and needle suggestion. And there are plenty in here as well. And then there's the back. And then these are held together with kind of like bungee elastic, so you could get different journals and swap them out. If you filled one up, put in a new one, which I love a lot, because you have some journals where you're just stuck with what's in it, and when you finished it, you can't use it again. But here you can continually use this beautiful cover, and yeah, these just gorgeous, just very clever and well done. And as far as I understand, she does the knitting journal stuff is something that she's fairly new to, but she's been doing travel journals and other personal journals for a while now. And so I definitely suggest that you check out her shop. I will link it down below, of course, and Anne, thank you so much for such a generous gift. I really, really appreciate it. I will be writing to you on Ravelry a more personal and proper thank you. I apologize that I haven't done it yet. My kids are home, and it's making my brain go scattered. So I did just get this the other day, and I want to thank you properly. So expect a message from me on Ravelry soon. All right, guys, that's it for me today. I'm glad that I got this finished in time. We're supposed to have new windows put in today. There's one advantage to the HOA. They found out that they had to, in order for the insurance to cover them, they had to replace some windows in some of the units. And so we're supposed to get 3 new windows today, which I'm very, very excited about, because the windows in our units are old. But yeah, so I'm glad that I got finished before the window guys came, because this bedroom is one of the windows they're replacing. And yeah, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your Tuesday. Happy knitting, guys. Bye.